Welcome to Inside Salem. I'm your host, Mike Allen. On this show, we try to give information that is more in-depth than what you read in the regular newspapers about all those things that affects the citizens of Salem. Joining me today, Teasie Riley-Goggin, political analyst.
Nice being here, Mike. Thank you.
Domingo Dominguez, Councilor at Large.
Happy to be here, Mike.
Tom Furey, former school committee member, former Councilor at Large, and current planning board member.
Thank you.
And Jim Fleming, former Ward 6 city councilor, former school committee member, and original panel member of this show, which started in 1997, 26 years and going strong. Welcome all.
Enjoyed every session of it.
Yes.
Okay. Some of the topics were, the main topic that we'll be talking today is the upcoming election, which is just under 3 weeks from today. This show being taped on Wednesday the 18th, and the election is Tuesday, November 7th. And so we'll be talking about the different things. I normally, last Inside Salem, I indicated that I was going to do candidate interviews for the challenges, which I've done for the past few election cycles. Just time commitments elsewhere made that not feasible for me to do. There are still ways to view what the candidates are about. There is an SATV candidate introduction where each candidate gives a little spiel. That is available, will be available, I think, towards the end of next week, which is the week of the 23rd of October. That is also available on video on demand. This show here, starting last month, besides being available on video on demand, we're now also available on YouTube. To get the last show, the way that we did it was just go to your Google question and say Inside Salem September 2023, and up it popped. And it was pretty quick and easy. It allows you, one of the advantages of it over a video on demand is that on YouTube, a lot of people on their TVs can do YouTube, so it gives it a little better thing than your computer screen. So it just gives an extra way of watching. Also, you're not fixed to the times that it runs throughout the month, which is on the regular channel 22, which it runs quite regularly. But you always say, oh gee, I wish we were starting 15 minutes earlier or 15 minutes later. This way here you have control over when you can watch it. So before we get into our topics, TC, you wanted to talk a little bit about the Council on Aging, Friends of the Council on Aging
Well,
doing
I think we can, yes,
Thanksgiving
Mike.
turkey dinners.
I think we can all have some input into this. And the Friends of the Council on Aging, for a number of years now, on Thanksgiving morning, we have volunteers, and we are always looking for volunteers. And if you are willing to give a couple of hours of your time to help deliver these Thanksgiving meals, you can call the Council on Aging at their phone number, which is 978-744-0924. And they would be most appreciative of it. And you can ask for Rosanna, or you can ask for Terry to give this your service number that you can be reached and set up for it. But the other thing is, we want to remind people, this is something many hundreds of people here in the city of Salem qualify for this wonderful dinner. But we ask that they be homeward bound and unable to go out and spend days with their family or go to a restaurant. So we'd ask you, before you decide that this would be a nice way of having an extra lunch or something, that you think a little bit about, preserving money for other things that we, the Council on Aging, do. But I know that I have alongside of me someone who, and probably others here with me, that have volunteered for this.
I had the great pleasure to be in many years as a volunteer, and I had to attest that this is a great program. And I also wanted to encourage people not only to volunteer, but also to donate. I think the friends in Council on Aging receive donation, and you can send your donation through mail. The mailbox number is 1077. And also, when you make families or people in our community happy, that's very loud and clear. Every time I do it, I come very full of gratification, seeing, what the Council on Aging is doing, making family happy, and this is why we are here.
Okay.
So it's great. It's a great program.
Yeah. So you said that was P.O. Box 777?
No, 1077.
101077.
Well, that's for
So
mailing.
Salem Council on Aging, if you wish to mail in a donation, Salem Council on Aging, P.O. Box 1077, Salem, Mass. 01970.
But the other thing is, we were also going to just remind people that we had 2 people that were affiliated with the Friends, and that was Sylvia Fleming, that her family requested that donations be made in her name to the Friends of the Council on Aging. There is a difference. One is the Council on Aging, and the other is the Friends of the Council of Aging. And also, we had another one, Rosanna's mother-in-law, which is Diane Donahue, that they have requested that you make donations to the Friends of the Council on Aging also.
Okay.
But yes, and if you can do that just by picking up the phone and calling the phone number that I gave in the beginning.
And that was 978-744-0924?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, so as I said, I typically have been doing for the past few election cycles an interview of the challenger candidates. My logic has always been that the incumbents have a voting record, so therefore the voting public, know what they're supporting. More so than what they say they're supporting. We have an actual record of what they're supporting and not supporting, and that's why I chose just to do the challenges. And again, this year, because of other circumstances, time circumstances, I could not do it this year. But the questions that I would ask of this, and these are questions that, when the candidates knock on your doors or whatever, these are the questions you can ask, and I'll go through these. And I have 3 that I would ask of the city council challenges and 3 for the school committee challenges. And for city council, the idea of what their support or outlook is of the LifeBridge project, the project that LifeBridge has proposed to drastically to build a large area where their current thing is standing. The swap between Pioneer Village and Camp Numkeg, where you would stand on that. And a new topic, because these things are, sort of been around for a little while, but we seem to have an influx of homeless tents developing in Salem, and what proposals that we have for that. Anything else that that city council members should be asked?
I think that the offshore wind projects need to be addressed and discuss it, and I think many people should know about it. And also we had the Halloween season, which is getting big and big every year, and public safety start to be a concern for so many people. So public safety will have to be addressed.
Okay.
I think any candidate had to address that.
But you said the wind project, and
the wind project.
Much to the surprise of a lot of people, the Conservation Commission has held
That's actually
out.
something we'll be talking about a little later. So let's
Okay,
stick with
all right,
these at this
okay.
point. Yeah. Jim?
Yeah, I would also include in that list, how do you stand in terms of tax relief for the homeowner? As a homeowner for 60 years in the city of Salem, I always ask that question, and I think that they should know at least how they're thinking in terms of budgetary matters and conserving tax dollars.
Yeah. Just a note on that, in the past probably on this episode and the previous election cycles, I would have numbers talking about
The
in the
comparison.
mayor's race, because
Yeah,
the
the
mayor is still
comparison,
coming on. And under her administration, if you look and compare Salem versus the neighbors, our tax burden
Way up.
per capita, spending burden per capita, which means our tax burden, went way up compared to our neighbors when you look
Right.
at Beverly, Peabody, and Lynn, and I had reasons for
That's why I'd
including all
asked the
that. I didn't
question.
do that this time because we have a new mayor and it's not a mayoral election. But yes, that's a very an important question. And I usually do ask about that because it's a mayor's year question more so than.
But there's input from the councilors,
Yeah.
very, very, very strong. They're very
Really?
strong
Okay.
in terms.
I know that they theoretically do, but it just
Right.
seems like they've never have.
I know.
Okay. I
Well,
don't ever recall.
We call for a an analysis of budgets
Yeah.
in the
Charter Commission.
Charter Commission,
Right, yeah.
but that never passed.
Right, yeah. And actually, I think it did pass, but we never funded it. I mean, I think
No, it
they
didn't
passed.
pass.
They didn't pass it themselves. The Charter Commission didn't pass, but I thought they voted that in. But it
Possibly a
just,
couple of years after the charter.
yeah. But it never
Never-
it was
never was
vetoed or
funded.
something. I
Right.
think by the mayor. Tom, any question you would be asking these people?
Development. I think that was always a question on people's mind in the last election and this election is development throughout the city of Salem. I think that should be a critical question because that affects every single neighborhood is development, these big developments coming in.
What I don't, and I agree that's very, very important. The drawback to that is the answer is always for smart development. So it doesn't differentiate the candidates. Every candidate is for smart development.
Right.
But what does that candidate consider smart development? Do
Right.
they consider it smart development to put 250 units where Lightbridge is? Or do they consider that not smart development? So you can't. That's too open-ended a question. I like to again. That's why I specifically asked, what do they think about the Lightbridge project? And in previous years, I asked, what do they think about the project? The corner of Federal Street and the Crescent lot down by the train station, because those were topical at the time. So I don't like to have the open-ended questions much. But again, there's no reason not to ask that question. So those are some of the suggested questions that I would recommend asking the candidates when they knock on your door, when you do a question and answer session at the debates, of which there's debate last night. For Council at Large, and there was a debate tonight sponsored by the Salem Chamber of Commerce for Council at Large, and those will be shown on SATV various times. Again, available video on demand.
Also, you can pick it up on
YouTube.
YouTube.
I'm not sure if
On
it's
demand
available.
on YouTube.
YouTube.
It's available on YouTube as well. I
Absolutely.
wasn't sure
Yes.
about that one.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Okay. So those are the questions that I would, that I have and would be asking, and we added a couple to it. But now let's move on to the school committee. Now my three questions are that I would ask, and the reason why I do three questions, I want to give them enough time to answer them fully, without dragging on forever. Because it's usually a 15-minute interview section that I did, and then if they had time, they could bring up a subject of their own that they like. And the other thing is this: if someone didn't want to answer a question, unlike some of the interviewers, I don't debate them. It's between them. It's between the candidate and the voter. What they, so it's not between the candidate and Mike Allen, debating them about what my answers are for it. I try to leave it up to them, and if they, don't answer a question adequately, just keep that in mind. Okay, so for school committee, there's the first question I had was the MCAS referendum. There's going to be a state referendum next year in the statewide election to do away with MCAS, or to seriously change it, in effect doing away with it.
Not make it a requirement of graduation. That's
Okay, which means in effect they're doing away with it.
yeah.
I mean, then it's like, okay, we're going to give you a quiz today, and it doesn't count to your score, to your grade. I mean, what does that mean?
Right.
It's useless. Right. The other thing is what aspects of the Salem High School rebuild or refurbished there would be. It's going to be an awful lot of money, even though the state is picking up, 65% of it? Is that what it's picking up?
65%.
So 35% is going to be a
Which is the most that the school building authority will give any community.
Now, back when I was on the school committee in the middle 2000s, it was they paid up to 90%.
Right,
Yeah, and
right. No more.
we done
Highest
several
is
buildings at 90%. Okay, so the Salem High School rebuild, and the third question I have was integration. How are we going to integrate into our schools the influx of immigrants that are pouring into the country and pouring into the state? We have all our, the mayor has, the governor has come out and said that our shelters are basically past capacity. But we have a guaranteed shelter law in the state where the taxpayers need to pick up the price of people who need shelter.
There was a vote. That was a vote years ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't a decision of the legislature.
Oh no, okay. That's true. It wasn't current, but it could be rescinded by the current governor. It did not. Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's true. You're correct on that. I laid the blame at the current governor's feet, and it actually doesn't belong there. My apologies. Any other questions?
Well, yes, Mike.
School committee.
School choice.
School choice. Okay.
In other words, does this bump into integration in a way, so to speak?
Yeah.
I know that school choice, if it's wide open,
Yeah.
and I know that special education, if that's included in, and I don't know you can delete it. I mean, sometimes.
What do you mean by school choice?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
What do you mean?
That's what I'm asking. Is school choice is really
School
truly-
choice within the city of Salem. We've always had the opportunity to pick our school within the city of Salem. We've tightened the rules immensely over the last couple of years because there was just too much imbalance. We had balance, now we had back to imbalance. So that's number one. School choice in districts, we do. We have voted last year and the year before for choice in terms of if you want to go to Beverly, if you want to go to Hamilton, you may elect to do so.
Okay.
In other communities, I forget what the other communities are.
Yeah.
I will ask if to the candidate about class size. They favor what is they talk on the class side of the classroom, and also transportation. How they're going to address the shortage on transportation. I know in the previous year, I think the transportation began to be privatized, and we need to know if this can be back to be on the public sector other than the private. And the last one that I asked is in regard to the diversity on the teachers that reflect on the student bodies that we have. Is the numbers are there? What do they do to help attract more new teachers that reflect the diversity that we have here in Salem?
Okay. Just get into the busing for a moment, into the transportation. Now, 3 years ago, they went to private transportation?
Right, and
Is
I
that
opposed it absolutely from the start. It was a mistake. It's a mistake today.
And it's not working then?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And the cost will jack up completely.
What a
over
shock.
What
You
would
mean
cost
they came
us.
in with a lowball estimate?
That's right.
And,
That's
and they
right.
jacked the price up?
That's right.
Yeah, and the thing is this, it's one of those things that at the time, I and many others pointed out that to go back to an in-house system, the cost is much greater than it would have been to stay, because now you have to go out and purchase vehicles, which you had vehicles.
Right.
You may need to replace a few vehicles, but you had the bulk of the fleet, and now you don't. Now you have to go out and get a fleet from scratch.
It's a mistake.
So it was. I thought, short-sighted. And I was someone, when I first was on the school committee, I was looking into that, and I did look into that, and because I was all about privatizing a lot of the services. And that was one of them I looked into, and as I looked into it more fully, I realized that that the value added of having a Salemite sitting in behind the wheel, who is going to be there, pretty much all year long, doing the same route all year long, outweighed what potential small savings there were. And as it turns out, if they've raised the price too much, the savings weren't even there.
Not only do they know the roots, but they know the parents and the kids.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's so important
Yeah.
in children.
Yeah, and particularly for the younger students.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean, a
safety
lot of kids
issue.
have.
Safety, yes.
Yeah. A lot of kids have, anxiety going to school in the morning, and if
Right.
they know that, oh, this is, Mary who knows my mother, that's works out,
One thing in that respect, I think it was Haverhill, who adopted a identifying badge that could be traced by remotely. And I think for $6,000, that's a good program that they bought into in Haverhill, and I think we should look at that.
And that's what the bus driver would wear?
No, the kids would wear.
Oh, okay.
So we know that they're on the bus or not on the bus.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good idea.
When you say $6,000, that's not $6,000 per student.
No, $6,000
For the whole
total
program?
for the
Total?
program.
Very
Total
cheap.
for the
So you
program.
can, the 4,000 students that are in the Salem school system?
Well, I don't know how it compares with Haverhill, but I mean, it's very
Haverhill's
similar.
probably larger.
It's
Very, $6,000 they pay.
That's pretty
It's like a
cheap.
GPS. You put it on the student,
Yeah.
and then you find out
Yes.
where they are. Because
Yes.
The other day, I run into a little situation where one of the kids got lost. Parents come to school,
It's big-
and they don't find. It
Right.
happened that, very, very fortunate that the kids went to a after-school program without the parent knowing that he was signing for that. So with the GPS, that will help a lot to identify what your kids are.
Okay.
good.
I mean, the cost is certainly very reasonable.
Yeah.
And,
Very reasonable.
I mean, there's certainly $6,000 worth of fat in that budget that can
Oh.
be transferred,
Oh,
at least.
yeah.
Tom,
Well, with the new high school, it should be a catalyst for thinking about reassessing neighborhood schools. As we all know, going through our neighborhoods, Domingo and I have gone citywide. Our neighborhoods now are more integrated more than ever.
Oh, yeah.
They're not more one white and one black or Spanish neighborhood. They're integrated, really, most all wards and precincts. So I think with the advent of the new school, high school, we should reassess as a question, should we go back to neighborhood schools? My son, who's Cambodian, one of my 5 sons that I adopted, was 10 years old when I got him, and I lived on Barstow Street. What happened? He had to go to the Witchcraft Heights School, about 2 miles away from his neighborhood kids
Right.
that he wasn't associating with there.
Yeah.
And it was a lost 2 years, I really believe, that it was good for Witchcraft Heights to integrate a little
Yeah.
way. But for the last 2 years for my son not to identify with the neighborhood, he would have gone to the Bates School,
Right.
his neighborhood school. So I think with the advent of the brand new high school in 5 years, we think we assess into a neighborhood concept.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I, and I was talked out of it when I was on the school committee, that I said, why your neighborhood? For one thing, you save all the transportation cost,
Big time.
and you walk to your school. I mean, most
The thing
people-
is balance, racial and ethnic and religious balance. And you don't get it if you let if everybody picks their school.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, as a teacher, I have always said neighborhood schools.
Oh, I did too.
Always.
I don't get me wrong. But the law requires that they be balanced.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess there are certain realities that need to take place to
Right.
make that the case. Okay. On to our regular subjects here. We talked earlier a little bit about LifeBridge. I guess they've scaled back their project considerably. It still seems pretty good size to me. Domingo, you want to?
Same. I feel the same, and many people feel the same. I go door to door, and that's what I hear from, especially from the neighborhoods surrounding. They actually have celebrating the Italian Heritage Month, and they had a picnic, and many of the residents come over, and that was the topic that they discussed the most, and they feel okay now that the park is not going to be moved. The park going to stay there,
Yeah.
but they worry about the church, which have a lot of memories
Yeah.
for them and mean a lot to them. So they worries about that, and they say the size still a little bit too high,
Yeah.
and they have hope that LifeBridge and the other involved sit down at the table and maybe find a common ground solution that will be
Now-
beneficial for everybody.
In terms of saving the church, because people in the neighborhood like it, I'm not sure how valid a point that is. Now, if the church is old enough so that it comes under historical, whatever, then, I can see that. But, it's it's an abandoned church. I mean, it's a it hasn't been a church now for what, 20 years, anyways.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I just don't know how long you're going to leave a building there which doesn't function as a church. You can say that about any building, whatever.
It could function as a monument to the Italian immigrants that came here, and with their sweat and equity, and with sweat equity and their money, they built the church. Nobody else helped.
Right, yeah.
Not the archdiocese, not the city. Right. They built it, and that's a big thing for that neighborhood, and a big thing for the Italian population in Salem, whether they live in that neighborhood or not.
Yeah. Okay.
The Ward 3 candidate who was running against Patty Marcillo is a prime example of, he grew up in the neighborhood. He painted some of the murals at St. Mary's. His father was very involved as a painter, and he's running because he's vested Prescott Street. He lives on Prescott Street. Very vested in St. Mary's in that neighborhood, and that's a major issue whether to keep that church intact.
Okay.
It's very sentimental.
I think he's got the greatest signs too.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
And what's his
I
name?
see it.
Jim.
Excuse me.
What's the Ward 3 challenger's name?
Joseph. Candeler.
It's close.
Yeah, Joseph Candeler.
He grew up in the neighborhood. His father was instrumental. Ward 3.
Yeah. Joseph Caltrera.
Yes.
Cultura.
Yeah.
Cultura. I know he's
Okay.
close.
So
roots in the
he's
city.
questioning the idea of this whole light bid project based on that.
The whole beginning. He's been very involved in the whole beginning of the light bridge.
Yeah.
But the larger issue is this, and as people are probably sick of hearing me say it. Salem is one of the most densely packed communities in the state of Massachusetts. Why are we adding even more density?
I don't know.
Not counting, October where you can't drive around and you can't find a place to park. I mean, in February, you have trouble driving around and finding a place to park because of the density. And we're going to add even more density. It doesn't make sense. Yes, there is a housing problem in Boston, north of Boston, south of Boston, west of Boston. There's a housing problem. But it doesn't seem like they can put it all in Salem.
I was shocked to see that Swampscott is building a 40B project. Shocked.
Yeah. Well, and no longer the
Charlie
governor to
Baker.
hold it off, right?
That's right.
Charlie Baker no longer there.
Yeah. I tend to think in the past the governor could stave it off.
Probably
Because
so.
he was from Swampscott.
Lived
I don't know
completely.
that to be the case, but it certainly
it's
is.
good
It
guess.
certainly walks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
Educated guess.
Yeah.
No, I say all the time that they continue to build and say there's a housing shortage. There is not a housing shortage. They are building for people we have yet to meet. They're bringing people into the city.
Yeah.
And by the way, they're not giving low income. And when they say affordable, that word is thrown around here like we're doing wonderful things. We're not doing wonderful things.
Yeah. Affordable
Right
means
now,
market rate. doesn't it?
If you market rate is right.
It's based on the affordability component from Boston and Cambridge, which is way
above.
over what we really see in here. So
Way
I think that the first thing we need to do, because that question come to me many times, and it's going to come to me maybe in the forum. The first thing we need to do is to make sure that we change that formula, make sure that we adapt it to the reality that we have in Salem, in order for us to help. Also, we need to bring the private sector, the government, and businesses to try to produce some housing like Pico Highland, Salem High, Loring Tower, that will benefit not only the low income, but the veterans and the seniors. If we can come out with something like that, even though density is still, but the local people will benefit, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
Because
But
we
the other
take
thing,
care of them.
the other thing too is the housing right now. They have taken many places that were apartments, and they've turned them in. Developers who can't come in to make money. It's all greed.
Okay.
To make money
Yeah,
and put in granite counters and this and that and everything, and sell them for condos.
Right,
We're
but-
losing
But
housing.
if someone owns a 3-family home for years, and all of a sudden they're getting to the age they're going to, I don't really want to. I want to downsize. The kids have all moved out. I'm sick of dealing with broken pipe. Like I did last winter. I have a chance to sell it to someone and make a pretty penny and move to no income tax state Florida. I'm going to take advantage of that. Why? How can we say to them they can't? So I don't really have a problem with those homeowners that do that. There should be, some sort of, I can't answer that. I mean,
Okay,
should the
I can
government
answer
make
it.
a
I have
regulation?
a problem.
Yeah.
If you're talking about condo conversion, a 2-family or 3-family to 3 units, I have a problem with that. An owner can sell off parts of that house or to another with the idea that the new owner is going to get income and then you're going to have preserve housing in Salem.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the worst thing we did in Salem is allow the amount of
Right.
condo
I mean,
conversions.
clearly that I agree wholeheartedly. That has created a lot of the problem we have, is by getting rid of the apartment stock and
Correct.
converting it to condos. I just don't know, how we can say to someone who's owned a house for many years that they can't do that. I mean, I don't know why we can say, to someone who owns a 2 or 3 family house that they can't maximize their retirement. So it's a dilemma from my
Well, the
point of view.
city is actually pushing in a way. In other words, right now, all around us, I own 10 apartments, 10.
Yeah.
And right now, I have no rights over those apartments, none.
Huh.
Tenant rights supersede anything and everything. This is part of the reason that landlords associations, they were not there to make it hard for the people, the tenants that you have. I loved my tenants when they moved in. I tried to keep low rents and still do. And I also provide heat. But right now, I'm looking at it and I should be able to make some profit. That's all part of investing in real estate.
Or investing in
I'm
anything.
not looking for greed. These people that come in, these developers, the first thing they do is sometimes they double or triple the rents of the people living there.
Yeah.
They force them out.
Yeah.
Right now, the city of Salem, I have literature up to here on tenants' rights. And they're saying to me, when I ask, what are my rights? And I look and I don't have any.
Let me
In
tell
other
you the
words,
history of that. When
no
I started
rights.
practicing law 50-odd years ago,
Yep. No,
landlords had all the rights.
that was wrong. I'm one who believes.
That's right. The pendulum,
believe.
the pendulum had to swing at least some way away from that.
But don't bunch us all together.
No, it should be equal. I
Right.
agree with you, but not that big swing that we had 50 years ago when landlords controlled everything.
I'm the only panelist here that is a renter. I rent myself all my life. I'm a renter. Half the city of Salem is renting. So it's a major challenging problem to be a renter in Salem. They have to do maybe 1, 2, 3 jobs. So that's a major issue. This going door to door. Different candidates bring that issue up of rental units there. It's a bit hard to escape. That is a major problem in Salem.
I completely agree with you, and I'm coming from a community that majority are renters, and I used to be rented to myself. Now I'm a landlord, but I'm in agreement with Teasie and Jim. We need to balance, because what happened right now is that whatever we get as a landlord, we have to pass it to somebody else, and it is a fight from the stronger to the weaker, the little to the big to the small one. And at this point, when anything, the law come and increase taxes or anything, we have to pass it along, because we need to make sure that we pay the bills. There is no way to get the money to pay the bills. There's no way that we can maintain the property. So it's a balance that needs to be in place. We need to make sure that we address landlords, but we also address renters.
I think the direction of the city should be all these new developments. For example, if they're going to put 1,400 units down into the Shetland Park, that not 5%, not 10%, but at least 50% be affordable. I mean, they're really affordable. And I think would be a better city as a result of it.
But we're talking about the affordable is misleading. It has to be.
I mean, really, I don't mean affordable in the current definition of Boston and Cambridge. What's affordable here?
Yeah.
And that can be determined.
It's $2,000 to $3,000 in
But see,
Boston.
I think there
In
should be a
Salem, too,
ceiling price,
$2,000
a
just to
ceiling
rent.
price
Oh, yeah.
on everything. On rents, on food, on everything. There
You
should
can't
be.
do it. You can't do it.
I know you can't,
You can't do it.
but I'm saying until something like
Nixon
that.
tried it.
Well,
Yeah.
it used to be, we
Yeah,
used to have
when-
ceiling prices,
That was Ford,
OPC,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Whip inflation now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Win.
Win, yeah.
Because right now, your middle-class families, if you say we still have some, we're losing middle class very quickly. Their back is being broken insofar as this housing authority here in the city of Salem, they have gone up. People have vouchers, and when money is needed, they turn to the middle-class families for the higher taxes. That's part of your taxes that happens here in this city.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about a housing project that looks like it's been canceled in a way. We'll see what happens. Overlook, which was a 250-unit project off of Highland Avenue. It was owned by the Enjemy family for many years and sold a few years ago to this developer who got approval for, again, approximately 250 units. And as they were doing it, they realized the pollution on the site was far greater than what was anticipated. And so
That
there's
doesn't take
lawsuits involved.
That didn't take a genius, though. Anybody that bought that should know that the city dump was right next door.
Yeah.
And
They didn't do their
And the
homework.
question,
they
the
didn't do
question,
their homework.
the
Right.
question, the question is why the city did not do the due diligence to make sure that put a break on any type of transaction with that land, knowing that there was some contamination there.
No.
Allow people to spend the money, and I don't blame anyone, but I mean someone had to be accountable for that, and I
Yeah.
think the city had to have
I mean,
a
clearly
mayor.
the buyer, when they get an agreement, do you know of this, do you know of that? And I mean, they say no, no, no. And, the city is, going forward with it to an extent. They're figuring that the city doesn't know of it. But, I mean, that was a known dumping area for many, many years. I mean, that was what you did in the old days. As, I guess Serafini said back in 1977 or 78 in front of the Concom, hey, look, what was dumped there was not illegal to dump there. I mean, regardless of the pollution it's causing now, and in fact it being illegal now, when it was dumped, it was legal to do. It wasn't like his clients did anything illegal. I mean, the city of Salem had, on the other side of Highland Avenue, there's a project, and I'm not sure how far along it is. I mean, it was sort of just coming up when I was last on the Conservation Commission, which was like 18 years ago. Where DiBiase was going to build, or the DiBiase family, something connected to them, on like 70 acres, Marlborough Road south towards Lynn and Highland Ave west towards Peabody, and it was a dump site for many, many years.
Superfund site.
And they, cleaned it up and
cleaned now.
made it, that's the case. I mean, in the old days, if there was an empty lot, people dumped on it, and it wasn't illegal to do so. I mean, so it's a tough situation. I mean, right near where I live, there's a park there, off of
Mansell Park. Mansell.
What is it called?
Mansell.
Park.
Mansell Park, right. They've been digging that up for like 3 years now, and then they stopped work for a while because they didn't have the money, and now they've started working again because I guess we got some federal funding for it, or state funding for it. But, here was a park that I played in. I moved to Salem when I was 16, so I didn't play in a lot. But we went over there and shot hoops, and mostly I shot the backboard. I mean, more so than the hoop. But we shot some hoops, and that was it. But I mean, now they're finding all these things, and it's migrated into some of the neighbors' yards, so they're mitigating that, and they're just doing a lot of things there. I mean, that was very, very common, and not only on any of the old communities. I mean, particularly Salem, Peabody, leather industries. They take that out in the backyard and dump it. I mean, that was
Dump it in the North River.
yeah. The Androscoggin River up in going through Lewiston and Maine. I mean, you could walk across it. I mean, it had a 6-inch thick layer on it, and you could look like you could walk across it with foam. But I mean, that was back in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, because of all the paper mills. I mean, that was just the way things were. I mean, but it is difficult. I mean, the buyer has a very legitimate gripe about this.
But
is there anything?
But But the buyer has to do his own due diligence.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming from.
That's okay.
I mean,
But the other thing is they're painting the Injimi family like, oh, it was greed and they're trying to do this and do that. That's not fact. And you're right. The city should be held accountable. We also have boards, and they know what happened up there. We've known for a long time. And if they should not okay or give permitting to people
At least
until...
at least they warn the buyers. I mean, saying, okay, are you aware that there's something going on there?
Yep.
Speaking of warning the buyers, this just popped in. Corner of Bridge Street and Boston Street, next to the Community Life Center.
It's built up.
Yeah.
It's built up.
Yeah, 10 by 10.
There's a shed that's we were a part of a condominium for the senior center.
Why is that?
It's built up.
Is that not being built because they have more pollution?
No, because the guy doesn't have any money to do it.
I
think it's more
been
than
a
that.
story
It's been
a story for 15 years. Believe me.
Why isn't it being sold off to someone who does? Because they obviously want to. I mean, they're looking to overlook. I mean, there is another project up there which is now going to be that Sunshine. Not Sunshine. What the heck is that? Sun Suite.
Sun Suite.
Yeah.
Sun-kissed.
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 No, not Sun-kissed.
No, tropical.
United Fruit.
No,
Yes.
Tropical.
Tropical is not having
Tropical.
All right.
And they were, they're moving over into that spot, but there's someone that proposed building, 250 units there or 200 units there of housing. So people want to build housing in Salem. If this guy doesn't have the pockets for it, then he should be, forced to divest of it in a way. But
Mike, I want to look because I believe Tom brought about HMA, one of the last meetings. You always bring it up. But I want to add to it that one of your members, I believe, on the board talked about if you really want to look at something that has an eyesore, they said about Sweets' property there on Boston and Bridge being left and why. She asked why. Do you remember that, Tom?
Yes.
Last month.
HMA?
Yep. HMA you talked about.
Yes.
But they followed up, one of your commissioners there, with the idea that Sweets' property on Bridge in Boston, something should be done about that. Why is it left all these years?
Well, but it can be cleaned. All right. The prime example of that is Crease and Cook. Crease and Cook is now building several condominiums on that lot that was totally contaminated.
and which lot is this?
The oil and grease.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Tremont Street.
right.
In
Yeah.
Danvers.
Crease and Cook.
Danvers, right? Danvers?
No,
No, oil and
Salem.
grease in Salem.
Salem,
Tremont
Oh,
Street.
Flintian?
Tremont.
Salem, not Tremont.
Flintian.
Well, I think it's Goodhue. I think it's Goodhue.
Flintian.
And that's,
But now they're building.
But Crease and Cook had to clean up also in
Chris and
Danvers.
Cook had to clean up in Danvers, correct?
Yeah. But the other thing is, Sweets' property is alongside of where the senior center, which is not a senior center, but it's a condo, and sitting on a piece of property that I don't think we even own, alongside of a little.
We
thing
don't.
that
It's a
looks like-
condominium association. The condominium association owns the property. We don't own the property.
so I'm just wondering,
We don't own the
I
property.
know.
are we
that's
paying
what I'm
so
saying.
much to this guy that it's worth it for him
I'd like
not
to see
to
if
sell
he's,
this property?
I like to see if he's up to date in his taxes.
Yeah.
Well,
He was protected for a long time. Believe me when I
Yes,
say
he
by
was,
the
obviously.
administration, that's right.
Right. I mean, I remember it was, 15 years thereabouts. Jerry Ryan, who was an occasional panel member on this show back then, was president of the city council, and there was, the time frame had expired for that developing that property, the variance needed for it.
Right.
And the mayor and Jerry Ryan negotiated something that said something needed to be done within it had to be something on there in a year or whatever. And lo and behold, this 10 by 10, plastic shack qualifies as that. which seems to be very far-fetched,
Ridiculous.
but legally qualifies for it, and that's what we've had on there for the past 12, 14 years.
Well, that proves that it's an association, a condo association, because it has another little place there. It's a group.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but right now you will see more forthcoming with the work that the people in the Federal Street District are doing about the city of Salem and what they have not been doing. And I will say that I'm waiting to see if it goes to court. In other words, they took down trees, they moved land and everything down there on Bridge Street by Alpha.
Okay.
And this is something to watch. And the only paper we now have is the Salem News. And we don't get much of the real news that goes on here in the city. But I would venture to say, in my humble opinion, that we have a new mayor here in the city of Salem. And I'm sure that our new mayor, Mayor Pingalo, may be, cringy or holding on tight right now with all that he's going to be faced, and they're going to look at him and say, do something about it.
Okay.
Let's see what happens here in this city with a lot of more Ingemie's property up there, whether that goes to court, and let's see who really is at fault. In other words, can you blame someone, as you've all said, before it was legal to do this? And people were aware of it. The city was very aware of it.
But goes back to my point. Buyer has a duty to investigate, and there is ways to clean even the worst sites up.
Right, and this was, what they're coming up now is all public record. Now it was old
Yes, it
public
is.
record.
Right.
It was all public
So
record.
the developer should know that, and the developer should put the cost of that cleanup into either the buying of the land or the buying of the land and the development. Period.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it was part of the purchase and sales agreement, the money that they put up. It's not as if they bought it and Ingemie kept their money. That's what they were saying. This was all
I
part
don't know
of
the facts. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple other topics I want to get into. The property where the offshore wind development is going to be done, the Conservation Commission did not sign off to what the developer wanted to do down there. My belief is ultimately it will come around because there's too much money at stake for the city of Salem.
No.
Well, okay,
No,
I'll be shocked if they don't.
Crowley has pulled out. Crowley said you can keep your open-ended there. We're pulling out of the project.
Okay.
They've already done it.
And you know why
They're
they
still
are?
before the planning board. They're still before the planning board.
Yeah.
They're dealing with lighting, drainage problems, and so on in Concom. So it's still a very active project.
But they
It's
have
before the
pulled
planning
out. Yeah.
No, I don't believe them.
So now we don't
I don't
have
believe
someone who's a developer at the wind site there?
Well, we don't know. They pulled out. And the other thing, too, is, way back when, I believe that the governor, when she first came in, and they went to her, some of these developers for the wind power, the money that we're talking about, that this needs to be appropriated, is not truly there. This is big money.
Well,
And in other
again,
words-
the reality is the laws of physics. People can break the law and park when they're not supposed to. They can speed and everything, but you can't break the laws of physics. And the laws of physics say you cannot generate enough power with wind and solar to run the country. Not any close to any chance.
I think
of
it
doing
can
that.
help, but I don't think.
That's the whole
I don't
idea.
even think it
can't-
helps.
the whole idea.
I think it
hurts.
can help.
It's actually just the opposite. It is just the opposite. Like we have ethanol that we required to put in gasoline. Ethanol uses more energy to produce it than the energy they save by having it in there. I mean, it actually is a net loss in terms of carbon dioxide production, which
That's
is everything's
because the
about carbon.
producers of ethanol are rich oil companies who are nothing but their profits.
Well, okay, that's what business is supposed to be about. That's why you invest in your 401k. You want to have companies that make a profit, and so that's why you invest in ExxonMobil.
So there's profits and there's profits, Mike.
Well, if in your portfolio you're going to say, wait a second, this stock is going up every year. I'm going to buy this stock.
But it's almost same as saying, okay, we're going to be jumping out of the plane. We use parachutes, but now all of a sudden they have a new way of generating wind waves. So they say to everybody, okay, take your parachutes off, and you can jump out. Well, let's face it, it doesn't work because there's no wind that day.
Yeah.
They're not sure exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They cannot control nature.
Yeah.
But this right now, they are saying they don't want any more people putting in gas in their homes.
Yeah.
Naturally, and they're taking it away. And you can't. Mass Save is not giving any incentive for people to change over from a fossil like oil and put in a natural gas, which is
Much cleaner. Yeah.
So they've taken it away. They're saying, no, you should have electric and a thermal pump in the ground. Do you realize the money it costs for electric?
Unbelievable. Absolutely
And
unbelievable.
people
And the thing is this: what generates electric? Well, we know that the wind and solar in this country generates about 6% of all the total power.
Right.
And it ain't getting built anytime fast. I mean, you keep hearing, there were several places along the East Coast that pulled out and said, no, we can't make money on this project, and they're pulling out. Crowley is,
Dominion's building a big one off of Virginia, though. A big one.
will we see it built?
I think so.
Okay.
They already have two
It's
in the
nuclear.
in
The
the
answer
ground.
is
I don't
nuclear.
mean in the sea. They've already put two up.
2 out of how many they're put doing? 200?
Thousands.
All right. So, yeah. So we'll see
I
if
will
that
say again, the meeting, and sitting to my right here, Councilor here, he's the one who, at one of the last meetings they had, asked the question or said to them, we say to the people who come here for a public hearing or public testimony, but they ask us questions, but do we ever give them the answers? And they
Okay.
don't.
And I would ask candidates at the door, are you going to challenge whatever the administration says, or are you going to question it?
It's a good question right
Well,
there.
again, they're going to all say yes. They're going to they're all going to say they're independent, but it just happens to be that the administration.
Track
is right.
record has developed, though, that they're not.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, I hope that the new mayor decides, if everything's going to be dumped in his lap, then stand tall, let it fall out of your lap, pick up the stuff that has to be looked at, and let's be honest with the taxpayers about what's really going on in this city. And talk to the council and tell them, get with it. I'm not going to tell you how to run the council. Run the city the way you should. That would be wonderful.
But any mayor, any mayor, believes when they're putting forth a proposal, they believe their proposal is right. Why would they not? Why would they be putting it forward if they weren't? So therefore, they're going to want city councilors that agree with them, and they're going to work to get those people elected because, after all, they believe their vision is the best vision for the city of Salem. I believe they're honest in that regard, that they think it's best for the city of Salem. And so therefore, if people aren't going along with them, they're misguided. That's what everyone thinks. If someone doesn't agree with me, it's not because they're evil. It's because they're wrong.
I completely agree, but I think the only issue right there is that it's not my vision or the mayor issue.
Yeah.
The vision is the people of Salem vision that need to be having a consensus. Yeah. And that consensus is being created by the type of government that we have, where we say check and balance. And if I'm the mayor, I had to be open to other options because it's not my vision, it's the vision of the people, unless I have my own agenda. The agenda of the people mean that everybody had to put input to make sure that we formulate the best vision possible so we can move forward. If there's only one side vision, it's not a vision for everyone. And that's basically what we've seen here in the past. We need to make sure that we open up and don't be afraid to disagree, but also don't be afraid to hear some people who disagree with you and try to get every possible positive action that everybody has and put it all together and make one that is beneficial for everyone.
Well, because for 17 years,
the thing that cities work off of, the calculus they work off of, they got to have at least $1 million or $2 million every year of new development. That should stop. We should try to balance what we've already got and not drive development because of our own budget. We should be controlling our own budgets.
Yeah.
That need of $1 million or $2 million, whatever it is, that calculus should go out the window.
Yeah, you mean we shouldn't spend $2 million for this little park next door?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good.
Well,
Okay,
the other
we only have a
thing-
couple minutes left, and I want to get into another topic, before we go on. Okay, on the agenda, and it's still on the agenda, right on red. Where is that?
Still in committee, haven't discussed it yet. I think that we may be approaching to a meeting soon. Haven't heard anything yet, haven't been scheduled.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for that discussion. I think it's going to be a very interesting hearing the both sides to see exactly what we need to go for.
Yeah.
What
So
we need to go.
Salem, they're too important to be in line with the rest of the country? I mean, because right on red is in the rest of the country. I mean, why is it that Salem can't manage it?
Why are we questioning the way we vote? Why are they pushing whatever that thing is?
Right.
You mean
Ranked choice?
Ranked choice.
Why are we always different? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
why do we have a dictatorship when we're supposed to have a democracy?
Good question.
Because people don't vote, and
Okay.
this election will prove it.
Tom, I noticed you get your cards out here. Is there something you wanted to add to the thing?
Well, on the idea of development coming up there, so the old Bettini's is 240 units on Canal and
Yeah.
Jefferson. That's on the fast track now. Ferris, the old junkyard,
Yeah.
down by Juniper Point, that's 4 buildings. That's on the fast track
Juniper
too.
Point is
Frank-
the corner of North Street and
Furlong
Bridge
Park.
Street.
Furlong
Furlong
Park.
Park.
Right.
Furlong Park.
Right, but just for
Franklin
people
Street.
who don't know where Furlong Park is, we're talking basically at the corner of Bridge and North Street, right?
Not
Franklin
Bridge.
Street.
Franklin. It's on Franklin Street.
Well, but again, Franklin Street, I mean, people know Bridge Street because that's a big street, but just if you look down from Bridge Street, when you're going, you see the overpass on North Street, just below that area is the area that we're talking about. Used to be Ferris Junkyard,
Yeah, yeah.
HMA was there,
Yeah.
and that type of thing, yeah.
Juniper Point Development is doing Bettini's. They're also doing that. They did a lot of Bridge Street, Juniper Point. He lives in Salem. He lives on Salem
Could I have
Road,
2
Juniper Point.
minutes? 2
Okay,
seconds.
okay.
Yeah, could I have 2 seconds?
Sure.
I want to thank Anthony Tony O'Donnell and his funeral homes who sponsored a trip for Salem and North Shore veterans. Bought 2 buses and fed them lunch and everything else. Took them out to a military museum last Thursday, and I think it was a wonderful, wonderful thing for those veterans. I really do.
Okay.
Oh, I think it is too.
Yeah.
Why didn't we have more publicity on this?
I don't know. I don't know how to get him to have more gratitude than what he's already been shown.
He's done
by
it all
the
year
veterans.
round too. He's very charitable.
Very charitable.
Anthony
Very
O'Donnell
charitable.
and family O'Donnell has been so good for the community
And
in
there was
many ways.
2 busloads of veterans that really enjoyed the day. It's an absolutely wonderful museum out in
Oh, it
Hudson,
makes me
Mass.
smile thinking about it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
good for
Okay.
Anthony O'Donnell.